Hi and welcome to the first in a new series of screencasts called Mastering AngularJS. AngularJS is a client-side MVC framework. It has two-way data binding, uses unobtrusive JavaScript, and it's got a bunch of other features which we'll dig into in upcoming videos. It's an extremely powerful framework, and it's also really fast to build out new things. So today we'll start from nothing. We'll get AngularJS hooked in, and we'll do some basic data binding. So on the left here you have my text editor, an empty HTML page being rendered on the right on the screen here, and you'll see that nothing interesting is happening. We've got an input and some literal text. So let's go ahead and get Angular wired in. So we need to include the AngularJS. We need to tell Angular that this HTML page is going to be an Angular application, and then we need to control some part of the page, and the way we do that is we tell AngularJS that we'd like it to control some group of HTML elements. It can be anything. In this case I'm applying it to a div, but you could apply it to a single control or an entire container. So here we'll tell Angular that we're going to ask it to control this div, and the name of the controller that will control it is called myController at this point. And you'll see that I'm closing the div out at the bottom, so everything inside this div here will be controlled by Angular. So now let's get our controller on the scene. So we will just do that inline here. You could put this separately if you like. And now we will provide a constructor function for our controller, and we'll pass it in some context. Don't worry about it too much at the moment, but the context is known as scope in Angular's world. So let's just save. Nothing new is happening in the world at the moment. Okay, nothing new. Okay, so now we're at the point where we can ask Angular to start to control some behavior on our page. So let's start by adding a simple property to our controller, and we usually attach, if we want to make it visible to our HTML, to our view, we attach things to our scope, which is, it can be thought of perhaps as the bridge between your controller and your view. So here we'll just create a property, and I'm going to call it my property, and we'll set it to something. So now we have a property called my property. It's available on scope, and its value is set to monkey. So maybe we'd like to wire that up to our input, and we can do that by telling Angular that this input has a model, and the model in this case will be the my property variable on our scope, which is the bridge between a controller and our view. So what happens now? Let's have a look. So we'll save that in F5, and we can see that Angular has taken the value of our property and bound it to our input. Now we can also see that it works in both directions by perhaps outputting the value of my property directly onto the page. Well, so it uses mustache style syntax to render literally values that are in the scope. And if I save that and F5, we'll see that over here we're seeing the output of our property. And now if we change it, you'll see that as we focus out of our input, our property is being changed because it's being displayed here. And I don't know if you noticed there, but I had to leave the text box to get that update to happen. So we can tell Angular that we'd like that update to happen immediately. So we can say, hey, update our model instantly. So now when we hit F5 and I make changes, you'll see that those changes are being reflected immediately in the scopes my property. So that's it for today. We've wired in Angular and we've touched on a very simple piece of two-way binding. I hope that gets you interested. See you next time.